Welcome to Phuket. I'm here today to experience Etihad's A321LR in business class. Now, business class on a narrowbody, what's that like? Let's find out.
I had arrived in Phuket only 24 hours ago, experiencing Etihad's exciting new narrow-body first class, with its upgraded soft product, food and drinks. But while the first class was a decent experience, how does the same seat, albeit with a little less space, stand up on a 6-hour flight back to Abu Dhabi? If you haven't seen my first class review, click on the link here. It started in Phuket Airport, where check-in was a breeze. Impressive to see a first class and business class check-in counter. Both were empty on my arrival, thanks in part to just 14 business class seats on the A321LR. After breezing through security, I headed to the lounge. Etihad business class passengers use the Coral first class lounge in Phuket. Unlike the business class lounge, this Coral lounge is a little bit quieter. It is small, but functional enough, and there's a range of food, wines, and cocktails, as well as rather European design aesthetics. It's used by the likes of Emirates, so it can get a bit crowded at the end of the day. Being a 1 a.m. departure and one of the very last from Phuket, it was a pleasure to be called to board, and first class and business class passengers are encouraged to board first. Having just flown on the aircraft 24 hours ago, I wasn't too surprised to see the same crew greeting me once again. The 14 business class suites are reverse herringbone Stelia Opera seats that all face the windows. They are similar to the ones that you'll find on ITA and do differ slightly to the Thomson Vantage Solo that Iberia and JetBlue use. Now, they are exactly the same seats as those at the very front, but the first class suites feature a door and larger ottoman area where the business class seats don't. At the seat was the Armani Casa bedding featuring a mattress topper and a big firm cushion. Beside each seat is a storage shelf with wireless charging. However, there aren't any closable storage units. Beside the seat is a reading lamp and basic seat controls, as well as a trackpad controller for the in-flight entertainment. As I settled into the seat, I decided to continue to take a look around. There's the same large single-leaf table that you'll find in first class, which can be brought towards or away from you to make yourself more comfortable. Now, I was impressed to see a drink service offered during boarding. This was always going to be one of my biggest concerns on a narrowbody, but I have to admit, Etihad nailed it. I started with a watermelon juice and a glass of EPC champagne. Talking of drinks, it was time to take a look at the menu for this 5-hour, 45-minute flight. Although I'm not a huge fan of the layout of this menu, I have to admit the range of products for a business class flight of this length, let alone an aircraft of this size, was impressive. As is the dine-anytime service, which had some of the usual favourites, such as Etihad's chicken biryani. As the boarding continued, the crew came and offered us scented towels, although I do miss the traditional delivery of these, and the scent felt more hygienic rather than fragranced. Of course, there's these stunning amenity kits from Giorgio Armani that feature ESPA products, and these are complemented by gorgeous, fluffy slippers presented by the crew, which allow you to select your size. Business class gets access to 2 toilets. The rear of these 2 toilets is the more spacious and features ESPA amenities. When I got back to my seat, it was time to push back, and as such, I stowed all the amenities and soft products where I could. The headphones are pretty decent, and the screen size, although smaller than first class, is still certainly big enough. Although I wish Stelia would allow for a bigger TV as standard, as the large frame around this TV does seem a bit wasteful. The airline features an in-flight magazine called Beyond, which is great to see. Before long, we were pushing back, leaving rainy Phuket behind, and it was clear already that the late departure was a challenge for most who were already dozing off before we even took off. The crew, however, remedied that straight after takeoff, whizzing into action at breakneck speed, allowing for guests to maximize their sleep. One thing I always love about Etihad is the fact they pour the wine at the seat. It's such an excellent restaurant quality touch. For those not wanting to sleep, there is a fully stocked IFE system with an interactive moving map, swathes of movies and TV shows, and there's even Wi-Fi, which was easy to access and complimentary on my flight. About 25 minutes after takeoff, I was presented with a meal, which was served on a tray. Now, weirdly, because of the presentation and quality of the plating, I have no issue with the trays on Etihad, unlike some other carriers. I think because everything feels a little bit more considered. The only drawback to these seats is the way that the armrests are positioned, making it a little awkward to eat normally, as I found one arm slightly raised in comparison to the other. But thanks to the what could only be described as genetically engineered monster prawns, any discomfort was replaced by pure hunger. I mean, just look at the size of these. What's more, the flavour was incredible. I'm not sure what Etihad has done recently, but the catering is really exceptional as of late. This was followed by the chicken biryani. Now, I know it's not the prettiest dish to film, but as always, the flavour truly made up for any shortcomings in looks. This was then followed by a sumptuous chocolate and salted caramel dessert, which, considering the confines of the galley space on this aircraft, was crazy good and perfectly cooked. It's at times like this that I'm genuinely grateful for what I do for a living. With a food coma coming on, I headed to the bathroom to freshen up, and when I returned to my seat, I watched a show to help me drift off to sleep. After this, I set up my seat for a few hours rest. Now, you don't actually need to get up from the seat to turn it into a fully flat bed, but I wanted to put my mattress topper on to increase the comfort. Although climbing into the bed is a little challenging, once you're in, it's a spacious and unrestricted sleeping space, and I was lucky enough, or maybe just tired enough, to get a few hours sleep on this red-eye flight back to the Middle East. I was woken up about an hour before landing, and with a black Americano and some warm cookies and madeleines, it was the perfect sugar and caffeine pick-me-up to keep me going for my connecting flight to London. Again, I love the simple and elegant design of Etihad's plateware. Just look at this stirrer that looks a little bit like a propeller. Again, more refreshing towels were handed out before descent, and as everyone got ready and freshened up for landing, I had a chance to think about this business class experience. Although the seat is a little bit back to basics in approach, I can't really fault the overall experience. Okay, so Phuket doesn't have fancy lounges like Abu Dhabi has, but the crew, the new aircraft, the intimate cabin, and all of the amenities and soft products are excellent. But for me, Etihad is a myriad of little excellent moments that makes the experience memorable. And while the seat will always be a compromise on a narrowbody, the food, drink, and service were clear standouts, and 6 hours passed by in an instant. It will be interesting to see how frequent flyers will respond to this product, but it's perfectly suited for thinner secondary routes for the carrier. Now let me know if you've flown the cabin. And until next time, safe flying.